This phone is not for everyone, but to those who want this phone, they definitely know what they require. They need the best of the best. They need top performance, good battery life, excellent cameras, and most importantly, it has to fold out and just be almost paper thin. I'm talking about the Honor Magic V3 today. I mean, come on, a phone that costs this much, you definitely need to know what's up before buying it. But you see, here's the thing, because it's a foldable and it's a high-end foldable from Honor, you definitely know that it's all about, no longer about value crunching. It's all about what are you going to get when you spend this amount of money on Honor's best foldable phone. The stuff that we expect, then the stuff that we don't expect, and where it is very strong in and where it falls short after. And the specs are pretty straightforward. A Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, 12 gigs of RAM, 512 gigs of internal storage, a third generation silicon carbon battery, which makes it, more energy dense, but you can maintain a much thinner form factor. That's why this phone gets to be so paper thin. Yes, those two screens, both 120 Hertz, both including their own pulse width modulation technology for you to get less flicker when you're in low light, and of course that in turn helps with your eye strain when you're viewing content in the dark. This is what Honor loves to do, and this type of technology is quite apparent in all their Honor smartphones today, including the Magic series and even the number series like the 200 Pro. But yeah, either way, both screens are OLEDs. They're very, very nice. Colors are really, really good. They have L1 Widevine certification where you to watch Netflix and enjoy some HDR content every now and then. On the surface like that, it's a pretty good sounding spec sheet. But of course, you'll be talking more things such as software, because this is indeed a foldable and it needs a different kind of tailored experience, because I'm somebody that really particularly enjoys using multiple screens to do multiple things. So I love big screens where I can put as many widgets as I can so that I can keep track of my calendar and my to-do list. You're definitely able to do just that. But the way that Honor does it on their rendition of a foldable version of MagicOS, I suppose, and it's very similar to the previous generation Magic VS and V2, is that when you customize your widgets here on a foldable, it acts as two independent front screens. So you can't really put anything in this middle right here because they're just two independent front screens, which means, those that when you unfold it, it just shows just two of these here. That's a very funky way to do things, guys, and I hope that, you give us the individuality to customize the unfolded screen and the cover screen individually so that, one is to avoid confusion and two is to avoid widgets clashing on top of another, because sometimes operating systems do be like that. And this is a strong point for me because when you buy a foldable phone, your expectations and the typical user that would buy a phone like this drastically changes their usage patterns. Like I said, I'm somebody who focuses a lot on productivity and my to-do list and my calendars, my emails, my chats, every single thing that makes me work. As a whole, I use a foldable phone, and I don't really play games that much on a foldable phone, even though it has the capabilities to do so. And because this is such a thin phone, guys, gaming on the Honor Magic V3 is not particularly its strong point. Granted, it can run games like ZZZ, Wuthering Waves at 60 FPS, but the issue is for how long before it starts to throttle. Yeah, it's a lot faster than I thought, because it starts to throttle within what, 20-30 minute range. So I set everything to max and setting it hard 60 FPS when they're available. So yes, you can enjoy a big screen. Yes, I know the specs are like that, but this phone is just not for that. And this is just on standard mode. MagicOS allows you to enable something called performance mode, which will maximize its power. And that kind of power comes with a lot of heat. And when you have such a thin phone like this, you're definitely going to feel that heat a lot sooner. So I would just tell you to stick to indie games, stick to simpler titles that aren't as 3D intense like Wuthering Waves and Zenless Zone Zero. Stick to games like Mobile Legends, Monopoly Go, some games in the Google Play Pass which are pretty nice, like Dead Cells, Scourgebringer. These are very, very nice titles, and you won't even feel warm playing Mobile Legends on these 5 ranked matches in a row. was barely even warm, and everything was just maxed out. So there's some fun to be had, but not too serious fun. But yeah, as a foldable, we're just talking about the usability of things, but the physical aspects have improved so much. So because it's one of their thinnest foldables right now, which also they've said for last year's model, and they wanted to break that record, is everything is way more improved. So you get a super tough steel hinge that will help you keep things level and whatnot, but it's only up to a 90-degree angle, and of course angles like this is much easier to do, but when you start going closer and closer, it will close on its own. I'm not gonna be so nitpicky about it because not a lot of foldable users want to use this phone in such a weird angle anyway. But yeah, such a thin phone, barely 200 grams, very, very thin. IPX8 rating. This phone can take a beating and it can survive a drowning, and it can survive up to a depth of slightly over 2 meters submerged and still fully usable after that. In fact, I put it in a washing machine and it went for 1 spin cycle and it was still just fine, which is pretty funny, pretty cool. And it is something to give people like me a good peace of mind, because this phone is going to take a beating, and foldables are notoriously known to be not very durable in some certain sense. But Honor loves to make everything extra durable, everything extra tough. Even the screen is using very, very unique nano crystal technology that makes everything tougher, and the inner screen has a different type of layered protection, so you're not going to be trying to scratch this phone anytime soon. Battery life is pretty decent and a highlight, because this says 5150 milliamp silicon carbon battery. This is a 3rd generation. I talked about it earlier just now. And even on my busiest day, where I'm constantly forcing myself to use the unfolded screen in the screen 80% of the time throughout my day, I still manage to get home with just slightly below half a full tank, which is crazy. I didn't get numbers like that on other foldables, so this lasts pretty long. And bear in mind, I was just doing my work, constantly bombarded by messages, calls, playing music, and using multi-window, which is pretty okay and straightforward to use on the MagicOS 8.0. I get to charge this bad boy up in less than an hour. We're talking about probably 40 minutes ish from a completely flat battery, because this has a 66 watt charging capability if you're using Honor's provided supercharged tech, which is in the box. And as far as things go, this even supports 50 watt wireless charging, but you still have to use Honor's own wireless charger for that, and that takes just slightly over an hour. But either way, they're both really fast, one of the fastest foldable phones in Malaysia. Now about the cameras. This is my favorite part, because this is the only foldable I've ever used that is so encouraging to get out there and take nice photos, whether it's street, architecture, and whatnot. Your standard wide sensor here is pretty strong. Colors are really, really good. Image quality is very nice and sharp. Contrast well managed. Shadows are balanced, and it even translates to low light, which I think was quite impressive, because this is not like the Magic 6 Pro with a 1-inch sensor. This is a bit smaller than that, and it still managed to absorb a good amount of light even in low light, because this has an aperture of f1.6, and you get a telephoto sensor which goes up to 3.5 times in optical, which I feel is a strong figure, and it has periscope digital capabilities of up to 100 times zoom, which it's kind of notorious on a lot of flagships these days having really high zoom capabilities that are just simply digital crops with a lot of post-processing worked in the background. Well, it's not bad. If you want to take something from a really far distance up close, you can do it, and maybe you can get lucky and get a nice shot. But either way, up to 2.5 times is pretty good. The detail retention is really good there, because it's a hardware level zoom. That's a lot of things to appreciate, and the colors and everything are consistent in line with the main sensor. And there's nothing aggressive like over sharpening to compensate, over saturation, so that when you lose out on some light, the post-processing just bumps up saturation and brightness together to make it look more lively, which I particularly don't like, and they don't do it here, which is something I appreciate. And last but not least, a decentish 40 megapixel ultra wide. It just simply does the job. The colors are a little bit darker this time compared to the other two sensors, but lens distortion is good. The perspectives are good. I guess it's just one of those sensors where it really relies on your personal skill to translate to nice photos. At least I'm grateful that there is a triple camera setup here where all sensors are very usable. I like it. There's no useless macro sensor anywhere. Well, of course, it costs so much. The Arcore technology here is the highlight, and it's exactly the same experience as on the 200 Pro. The colors are fantastic. You get to choose between Arcore, Vibrant, Color, and the black and white filters, and I really, really love it. There's motion sensing here, just like on the Magic 6 Pro, so you can capture everything with an incredibly fast shutter and at good timings. And you need to take multiple shots, and you will definitely be finding, more than half of those shots are well shot. Like people are walking midway and there are no blurs on the legs or the hands, even though there's just constant movement. Motion sensing technology does a fantastic job here, as it did on every other phone Honor has made with the same technology. The selfies are serviceable and okay. Both the inner and cover screens are both using 20 megapixel selfie cameras. They are serviceable at best. The image quality is just so. The colors are good, and there's no over sharpening, which I still appreciate. There's even a tinge of softness in there in the mix to give it that subtle, realistic shot. So I guess there is something to appreciate for when you want to take selfies on the Magic V3 after all. But yeah, this ticks all the boxes for me as a foldable device. Top tier specs, very, very strong durability on both the hinge, the screen, and the experience of unfolding the phone doesn't feel coarse at all. It's very smooth, very nice transition. The crease visibility is not too bad. It's a lot better than on the VS and the V2. The Honor Magic V3 has general improvements all around, although I still feel that MagicOS still needs to work on certain things on a foldable level to make it more intuitive, such as multi-window. Here it's more towards tapping and choosing whether you want to resize the window of an open app a particular way and allocating the other half to another app by a series of taps. It really feels very counterintuitive. I prefer something that's more towards, I open up my multitasking screen and I hold onto the app and drag it to half my screen and it will just resize there. On a final note, when you are using this particularly for AI-rich features, I would definitely want to tell you that, yeah, the AI features are pretty useful. Magic Portal is there. You get to even, knuckle knock on your phone to draw a circle onto a particular object, and when you're done you can tap and hold it and drag it onto the Magic Portal, which will be a bar on your right where you can share it to various apps including Google. So this is more like a knuckle circle to search kind of deal going on. And I really like AI translation right now because it even includes Bahasa Malaysia, where you can talk to somebody here. So even as a tourist coming from a different country coming to Malaysia, speaking their language and translating it to Malay, that's fantastic. I have yet to see anyone else do this for their own brand. Not just Android, not just on a Gemini front. I'm talking about like built into the phone and managed as such. And it's even Google Cloud powered. So this is something that I want to applaud to Honor for pushing up this effort and putting, Malaysia on the map. We need that attention. I also forgot to share with you that, both screens, the inner screen and the cover screen, has Honor Pen support, and this is a particular model from Honor that you pair it to your Magic V3 via Bluetooth, and there's a button that will start the pairing function for you, and both screens can use it, although I personally prefer using the inner screen because bigger space. You just simply have more headroom. I'd rather do that, but you can do this here. But I can tell you it won't be as nice as when you use it inside. It's such a generalist foldable phone. There's just so much to like about it. The form factor is there, the performance for productivity is there, and some small leeway for gaming. And the cameras are fantastic. One of the best camera systems that I've seen on a foldable device. Battery life is there. Charging speed is there. MagicOS, yeah, I still feel like, there are better options out there, but it stands a chance to improve and be better on a software level. Hardware will always be hardware, but you can always change software. Thank you guys for watching. I'm ZenTheGeek, and this has been my review of the Honor Magic V3, and I'll see you guys in the next video.